Hi everyone, good evening. Thank you so much for joining this live session. I'm Banpreet Kaur and welcome to my live session. I'm making this series of topics related to equality uh, be- to see that the effect of equality in our life as well as in our society. So, be with me every Sunday evening to discuss and to talk about these different types of topics that we'll be discussing. So, for today, I'll be asking our guest to join us. Hello.
Yes. Hi.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible for me at least.
Okay. Hi. Let me give a brief description of our guest. She is Miss Dipali Bedi, a registered clinical psychologist at Sukoon Psychotherapy, Gurgaon. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining with me.
Thank you.
Today's topic of our live session is rituals and equality. We have been following these rituals since, I don't know, eternity, because it has been coming to us and we are following, but we don't know that are these rituals right or wrong, or the meaning behind these rituals. So, in this live session, we'll be talking about the rituals and equality. So, so my first question is, how was your day, ma'am?
My day was good, usual for us.
Okay, so starting with the first topic, that ritual. So, do you think?
Somebody is saying who is not audible. One of us are not audible for whom? Because interestingly, I can hear you. And interestingly, I think you can hear me. So I think we both should be audible.
Yeah, are we audible?
I think maybe most probably yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, my first question is, are rituals encouraging inequality?
So interestingly, we did get yes, we are audible. Sorry, can I get your question back?
Okay, so my question is, uh, are rituals encouraging inequality?
Uh, See, rituals, if we see our Indian rituals, and I'll specifically just stick to Indian rituals, we have anyway formed these rituals based on the patriarchal understanding. So, the patriarchal understanding in itself says the man is the superior and the female is the follower. The world revolves around the man. So all the rituals, if we see, they are made that way. If you see, right from the birth, the boy's birth is celebrated, the girl's birth is just, if she's allowed to be born, it's not celebrated per se. Um, Indeed, although now just realizing, seeing the fact that I'm talking to you and you're sitting in Northeast, Northeast Assam has a culture of celebrating the menstrual cycle,
Yeah,
where it is important, where and it is not just done in Assam Northeast, it is done in few of the west eastern countries, eastern states of India. I'm not going to countries. So,
yeah,
where it does talk about the idea of celebrating the maturity of the female, the menstrual maturity of the sexual maturity of the female. And this is more true for the cultures which is more feminine dominant, the female dominating cultures. The patriarchal culture has about the boy's birth being celebrated, the whole concept of Janua in Brahmins, which is a huge function, and a lot of Brahmin families especially has this function of the the boy becoming the grown-up man, sort of a thing. Then the marriages, if you see, the marriage concept of Kanyadan, where the female has to let go her family of origin and go into another family. The concept of, indeed, I don't know what is that called, but at the end of the marriage, the girl is supposed to throw off wheat behind her.
Yeah.
So the rice behind it or the wheat behind it, whatever it is. It is more about the saying that, whatever I've taken from you till now, that's exactly what it says, that whatever I've taken from you till now, I return it back to you, and I have nothing left of you with me, and I'm moving ahead. So in a way, the female actually is supposed to disengage with the family of the origin to get into the family of the spouse's family. Further on, means even the death, I was just talking to somebody just before, means a client of mine, and coincidentally we ended up discussing that actually his children are adopted children. So the whole idea of, the significance of the son, because the son in India is the one who gives the Agni to the parents, or the one who basically takes care of the children of the parents when they grow old. This is more of the patriarchal, obviously, society that we are looking at. So rituals unconsciously define the hierarchy, unconsciously define, our rituals are made from the way the initial thinking philosophy was. And the philosophy, if we are talking of the patriarchal society, we are talking of the concept where man was more significant, more powerful. And if we are talking of the matriarchal, it's the other way around. The idea of the selling of the female for money, which is there, many tribal societies do that. The idea of, means every ritual has that thing so deep rooted into it, that these biases are given to us without our knowledge also. We are anyway, the Karwa Chauth. The whole concept of Karwa Chauth, that the female has to fast for the man. People have died even on the Karwa Chauth, interestingly, but still that ritual continues. So these rituals are basically about the idea that the man, the boy is significant, the man is significant, and the girl cannot survive with. Indeed, the whole idea of initially the girl dying, girl jumping over the pyre of the husband, which thank Lord stopped. It was the idea that, what has she to do to live after the man is dead? So, so she should die with the husband. The whole idea of, females wearing the whites, not accepting dresses. These are all were the ideas brought up with the idea that the female has, what would she do after her husband dies? She shouldn't be seducing somebody else. She shouldn't be attractive towards anybody else. Otherwise, she would be misused. Whereas, as if it was a thing that could be misused. So the rituals define inequality. Rituals actually state very clearly. All the rituals, जितने functions, जितने rituals हैं, वो सारे के सारे clearly जो हमारी basic philosophy से जब हम आते हैं, जिस family से, जिस culture से हम आते हैं, वो हमें दिया ही जा रहा है. हम लोग चाहे जितने मर्जी दूर बैठे हों, हम लोगों के culture में वो चीजें हमें दी जा रही हैं. इसीलिए शायद जो रिचुअल्स अभी भी ज़्यादा डीपली फॉलो करते हैं, वो कहीं ना कहीं उस चीज़ में ज़्यादा इनग्रेन्ड है. वी आर मोर इनग्रेन्ड इनटू इट व्हेन वी फॉलो दोस रिचुअल्स, बिकॉज दैट रिचुअल्स इनडायरेक्टली कन्वे दैट. आई रिमेंबर दिस वाज द मोस्ट फनीएस्ट थिंग व्हिच आई हैड हर्ड व्हेन माय सिस्टर इन लॉ केम मैरिड एंड केम. आफ्टर हर मैरिज वी weren't there for the when we came back, she came and told me, she was like, I was expecting, मैंने करवा चौथ पे उसके पाँव छुए, ये सोच के वो कहेगा तुम तो मेरी जान हो, तुम्हारी जगह मेरे पैरों में नहीं है. Come out of the fantasy world, come to the real world. पहली बात है, पाँव छूने के लिए किसने कहा था? Nobody told you to touch her feet to begin with. So, somewhere down the line, why is that needed? Even as a ritual, I remember as a kid, I touched somebody's feet because my brother was said ki pav chho. I went behind, I touched somebody's feet, and immediately I was stopped कि सरदारों में लड़कियां पाँव नहीं छूती हैं.
नहीं, right.
So so we convey in our rituals, we convey the position of the person. We convey what is required and not required. Whereas लड़कियां माँ बाप के पाँव नहीं छूते हैं, अपने मायके के पाँव नहीं छूते, ससुराल में जाके फिर भी छूती है. That's the interesting rituals, because when these rituals,
the girl can.
so after the marriage she touches the feet of the in-laws, the husband is okay. So that's what you basically define it. These rituals are actually defining your position and defining your status so deeply in us that we cannot separate ourselves from these positions and these statuses which are given to us without disconnecting with the rituals. If we blindly keep following the rituals, चाहे हमें नहीं पता है पर कुछ ना कुछ तो मतलब देखो हम लोग कहा जाता है ना कि हम ये नॉन वर्बल जो है बॉडी लैंग्वेज जो है हम अनकॉन्शियसली भी पिकअप करते हैं दूसरे की. Right, we don't need to be all trained into knowing the body language of the person. We are anyway trained to pick up the body language, and these are the body languages. Rituals are a body language which is given to us. So this is exactly what it is. It is this positioning of who is where is actually given to us. It's given in the form of rituals. So inequality or the patriarchal society, the matriarchal society, whatever it is given to us. We cannot separate ourselves from this if we don't stop the rituals, if we don't work on the rituals, if we don't understand the rituals.
Right.
So rituals do encourage inequality.
Okay, so there was a question by Mahika that rituals always stand on the back of religion. Rituals are there to practice our religion. So, ma'am, are rituals important for propagation of religion? As no religion promotes inequality, but rituals do.
See, interestingly, you cannot take away the idea that religion doesn't propagate inequality. Religion does. Very simply speaking, the whole concept of Ram, if we talk from the Hindu perspective, the position of the man is very clearly patriarchal over there. The position of the female is very, a female, Sita was considered to be good because she basically chose not to stay in the palace and left with Ram following him. अगर उसने ये कह दिया होता कि मैं तुम्हारे साथ में नहीं जा रही, कि तुम्हें तुम्हारी माँ ने निकाला, प्लीज मुझे नहीं निकाला है, she would have been thrown out. So it is expected there the ritual, there in itself the inequality is very clearly given. The inequality is very clearly given in every rituals, every religion. Religion doesn't propagate equality. That is a myth. Spirituality might, not religion. Religion is very much embedded into the philosophy that we come from. Indeed, the strongest understanding of the relationship is the Shiv Parvati Ardhanarishwar concept, where Shiv talks about that my power is by your existence. The whole concept of Sati, which is a powerful female which almost brings back her husband to life when after his death. But then again, it is the power position of the female, but it is there again the existence does talk about the fact that the existence of the female without the man is nothing. Although in the Shiv Parvati, the Ardhanarishwar is the only concept which talks about the existence of the man without the female is also nothing. So somewhere down the line, it is about, it is not clearly that the ritual, the religion doesn't propagate inequality. Religion does. And it is actually the carry forward of the religion itself which basically is the problem. The rituals come from religion, and their religion clearly defines what is the position of the man and the female. It is not equality. I would love to hear furthermore from it where where she feels that it is not an equality. Maybe I missed on something. Please, maybe it might be a good idea to bring it up.
Okay, so we have been following these rituals and we are following. So, what do you think? Do we need to change these rituals, or do we need to know the rituals and change it? Are you getting me?
See,
Should
yeah. Rituals. I think most of them, like interestingly, I have a neighbor over here who I know her from last 5 years. I think her kids are now gone 5. They were hardly 1 when they came. 5, 6 were most probably. She makes her husband do the Karwa Chauth because she does the Karwa Chauth. So she's very clear on the idea that I'll only do the Karwa Chauth if you do the Karwa Chauth.
Okay.
So somewhere down the line, we are not able to break the rituals because it's so embedded into our society. But we still need to understand them. Here I feel it is a stupid idea because nobody is doing the ritual for the fact of what it is. It has lost its value because both of them know one thing for sure, that the other person is not going to survive because of the Karwa Chauth. Karwa Chauth would not increase the life of the other person. So nobody is doing it for that. Then why are we doing it? Yes, as you said, you are rightly saying it, that we have to first understand what these rituals were. What were they propagating? Do we believe in that propagation? And then figuring out how would we want to change it or just leave it behind. Because indeed, the whole concept of Raksha Bandhan, there was a very interesting video which had come in my hand when this Raksha Bandhan was happening. And that video was quite, I don't remember which company had made that. It was an advertisement of some company. It was basically talking about the fact that in it, the sister had come to the hospital, COVID hospital, where she wanted to tie the Rakhi to the brother.
Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, you saw that. The basic thing was she wanted to tie the Rakhi, and as per the rules, she wasn't allowed to tie the Rakhi. And she ultimately tells the guard that it is because of the Rakhi, and can you please give the Rakhi to my brother? At the moment the brother opens that Rakhi, he calls the nurse and asks, he basically ties it to the nurse, and he basically thanks her that, you are the one who is doing our Raksha at this moment. So is the Raksha Bandhan about who would basically do the Raksha who will protect the other? Or is it about only about the brother and sister's concept? Because interestingly, it could be even be the sister who protects the brother. And indeed, in Indian context, the elder sister is equivalent to mothers in a lot of families. They are the protectors, they are the caregivers, they are the strong females. So, she tying the Rakhi to the younger brother who is a baby kid doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense, right?
But then what are we doing? We are basically following the Raksha Bandhan with only one concept, that the boys are the ones who have to, and here we actually come with an idea that the boys are the one who are the protectors, which also takes a toll on the boys. I have interestingly a client of mine who lost his father at a comparatively young, means not very young age. Thank God he was not in the college at that time, but he had cleared his college and he had started working. But he had younger sister who was unmarried, and his middle sister who was elder to him was going through a divorce. And the level of pressure that he felt after the loss of the father, he came to me in depression because he felt that he could not save his father. And I discussed with him very clearly that, did you not leave any stone unturned? If the father was suffering from Parkinson and couldn't be saved, he did nothing. I mean, he didn't leave anything which he couldn't, which he could have done and he didn't do.
Right.
So this is a sad news because you're putting the pressure, and that's why I think there is a talk about the whole idea that patriarchy is not only harming the females, it is even harming the men equivalently, because they have such an immense pressure that they have to perform those duties. Imagine, and that does happen sometimes if the elder sister is 10 years younger, the elder to the younger brother, and when the brother is just born, if he is supposed to basically marry off the, interestingly, this brother, in many families, the brother basically marries off the sister and not the father. So if he is supposed to, at the age of around 4 or 5, supposed to marry off the, take the responsibility of marrying off the sister, go with the sister. इंडिया में कल्चर होता है कि जब बहन की शादी होती है तो भाई पहली बार उसको छोड़ने जाता है. So if he at the age of 4 and 5 is supposed to do that, imagine the kind of responsibility we are expecting out of him. So there's so much of an immense responsibility which is put up on the child for living up to that expectation. So obviously these cultures are in a way putting so much of pressure. We have to think about it. Is it needed? Means what would a baby kid bhai do when he goes with the sister? He becomes a liability for the sister to handle.
Right.
But somewhere down the line we are again putting the whole concept of that, the men is, the boys are important, the brothers are important. भाइयों पे बहुत ज़्यादा प्रेशर होता है. I being a rebellious sister, my brother might be having a good gala time. He would be like, इसको मारो, ये वापस पिट देगी, तुम्हें कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा. I don't shed care. Otherwise, it is a huge responsibility because they'll have to take care of you.
Right. So we don't actually know the meaning. Why are we following these rituals? I mean,
we are just blindly doing it.
Yeah, right. So there's a question again by Mahika that it is society of that time which makes us think that religion is somewhere promoting inequality. As you are giving examples of Ram and Sita, but we have to consider that they were avatars. While we talk about Shiva and Sati and Parvati, they don't have to carry the burden of society. So I think considering Sita and Ram or Krishna will make us biased in discussion whether religion, I mean, according to her, she just wants to ask that, as you gave the example of Ram, Sita, they doesn't have the burden of society. I mean, they didn't hear about something like that. So she's asking, it would be biased if we talk about them in case of, religion, in case of deciding whether, inequality. Yeah.
See, basically, what are we? I don't disagree with what Mahima has in. What is her name? Mahika. Right?
Yeah.
So the fact is, I'm not disagreeing with you that that was their time, and these are avatars, basically mythology, which didn't had the pressures of the society. I completely agree with you. I am saying the religion is anyway defined by the mythology. That's what the problem is. Religion hasn't changed with time. So if the religion anyway changes with time, if the rituals anyway change with time, where is there a problem? The problem is that the rituals were defined in which era we don't know. We are blindly following them. We are still giving those examples. The mythology was interestingly. I had a discussion. Thank Lord at that time BJP wasn't ruling, but I had a discussion with one of my uncles, who is a Hindu. Uncles in terms of dad's friend, and we were discussing about the concept of mythology. Mythology was made, was defined because they needed some rules and regulations at that time for the society to function, and these are mythologies. So, so at that time, these were the rules, and these were the rituals, and these were the needs. But now things have changed. We still are following those rituals. We are still blindly behaving in a certain way, which is impacting our thinking and our working in today's work. That's exactly the concern. So I don't completely disagree with where she started, but I think we are basically still talking the same thing, but maybe just trying to come to a different, we might come over a time on the same wavelength. Yeah.
So there's a question by Aishwarya that according to you, how can we increase equality in today's world, starting from the youth?
See, starting from the youth, first of all, we need to give away the behaviors, rituals, which are talking of inequality. We have to basically figure out what sort of inequality we're looking at, and here equality is not just about the idea of the equality between the male and the female. When I'm talking of equality, I'm talking of everybody being different. We have to basically well incorporate the people of LGBT into it. We have to incorporate everybody into it. We all are different. Including every caste, including every community, including every gender, including every color. Basically, we have to realize the fact that the society is made out of different people. We haven't to try to force them to be into one kind of people. Like comparatively, every person that meets me says you don't fall into the criteria of normal girls. Why is there a concept of normal girl? I am a girl. Simple. And I have all the right to be what I am. So, when we are talking of equality, we are talking of incorporating every person with whatever qualities they have and whatever strengths of, like a very common concept, girls can't drive. Because on an average, a lot of studies says the visual spatial of females is bad. My visual spatial was extremely good. They say math isn't females' game, and I'll interestingly obviously quote this female who was this movie has been made on, who was a math computer. So why are we basically looking at the idea of categorizing people? Why are we actually looking at the idea that everybody has to fall under some category? Can we basically accept the idea that we all are different and we all need to come together? So equality over here that I'm talking of the concept where everybody has the right to be different, and can we collaborate together and not almost put a pressure on everybody to fall under certain way of being. There shouldn't be any pressure of power. There shouldn't be any concept that this is more powerful and this isn't. Many reasons to divide.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a question that is it because it is because older generations that we can't get rid of the rituals. So how do we go about that? We are strong females of today. We believe in equality. However, the older generations have other concepts regarding the same.
See, obviously you cannot change the concepts of the older persons by forcing them to change. You have to create your own space. like if I'll very simply talk about myself, I might be living my life very differently than my parents might have ever fantasized in their whole life. Uh, I had rebel coming up when I decided whatever I decided at different stages. First of all, it is the idea of making yourself independent and making yourself strong and coming up as a person who has capacity to make decisions. Slowly and steadily, they would accept you. They might not change. So we might not want them to change to our level, but from here on, obviously, at least if I have changed, I'm giving a next generation a different feel. I'm giving my friends a different feel. I'm giving my peers a different feel. But they are changing because they have seen that even if I've not accepted the standard norms of the society, I'm still doing well. And that was their expectation at the end of it. At the end of it, what they wanted. They wanted me to be happy. They wanted me to be prosperous. I am in that category. I might not have reached the extreme that they might have wanted me to or whatever it might be. But I have got myself into that bracket. So they have started accepting me. So
Right.
it is a way where we'll have to basically do what we think is right, look at the equality aspect of it, and basically make our place and respect others' place. I don't want my parents to change overnight. They can have their opinion. Like very simple thing, my father would say that we would not raise our voice. We would not speak. He would not say interestingly, he would not say that we wouldn't raise our voice. He would say, हम लोग अपने माँ बाप के आगे मुँह खोलते नहीं थे. I said,
Right.
trust me, I still respect you more than you might have respected your parents, because the fact is, if I am able to speak, I'm more comfortable with you. I love you more than what you might have ever loved your parents, because I do have a space to speak. So I do tell them that. So it will take them it might take them long to change, because obviously they have been. My father is 30 years older to me, so 30 साल का जो मतलब, and I might have become rebel in my teenage. So 40 years of him being the way he was, and all of a sudden the daughter coming up with all of a different, complete different understanding of life. He might have got shockers of his lifetime. So I give him time to change, but in that process, I don't lose my track. I stand on my track where I am. I am okay with what I am. I'm okay with what people are. So
Right.
that's where only the possibility where we can actually work with the elders.
Yeah, I think we should, understand the ritual. Why are we following that ritual? I mean, as an example, you gave Raksha Bandhan. I think we need to know why do we follow this Raksha Bandhan. Interestingly, I was asking my mom that why do we follow this ritual, of Raksha Bandhan. So she said me that in the past, when there were wars, their sisters used to put this dhaga around the brother who used to go to the war. So it was like they used to say that you are doing raksha of ours by going to the war, and that's what it was. It was followed from that. I mean,
So interestingly, it was for the soldiers.
yeah. So it was for the soldiers because their sisters say that you are, doing raksha of ours, going to the field, and so basically it was. So that's the way, because the brothers go to the war zone, and the sisters put. So it's like we are following that only, but we don't know why we are doing that. I mean,
Yeah, so
if
somewhere we are talking of the protection at the war front. But when the
Yeah.
brother is 10, 12 years younger than you,
Right.
putting a pressure on him that, you have to basically protect me.
Protect me.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
I can protect myself.
So I think as an individual now, if I stand up to this, that he's younger to me and I can protect him, and this should be other way around. I mean, he should be putting Raksha Bandhan around, Rakhi to me, and I promise to protect him. I think if as an individual today I take a stand for this, and today this generation take a stand for this thing, for a smaller
It might,
ritual. we
See,
can, yeah.
it might be just not. I mean, he should tie to me. It is about the idea that you can. It
It's
might be
with,
a day where you can basically celebrate any sort of protection of by the other. So it is this. It is the celebration of the protection of the protection by the other. So it's the respect that you give to a person for protecting you. It could be anybody. It could be
anybody.
uncles. It could be even, interestingly, yes, many people do that. Many people tie Raksha Bandhan Rakhi. Those who don't have brothers tie it to the dogs because they are bloody more protective than actually anybody else. So it is a bond of basically protection.
Yeah.
It is a risk, and it is basically a. It is not basically a bond of. It is not actually a bond that we are talking of. We are talking of the matter of a day when we choose to respect these people.
Yeah.
So it is basically a matter of, and that's why राखी बांधने से पहले टीका किया जाता है भाई का. तो टीके का मतलब, टीका is about the respect. So it is about the respect that you give to a person who is basically protecting you. So it can be celebrated in any form. Why has it become a mandate that it has to be between the brother and the sister?
No, I don't know if you all follow that. I think in Punjab they follow that the wife put Rakhi to their husbands. This,
Okay, interesting.
yeah, I don't know if someone else follows this, but this is when my aunt is there in Punjab, so she was saying that this is what we follow, and I was like, what? Why shall a wife put the Rakhi to a husband? So she
Because
was saying,
somewhere it is again a pressure that the husband has to protect me.
no, it's not like he has a pressure, but it's like he's protecting the wife, right? So that's the way they give a respect to
So,
the husband.
so somewhere down the line, we are again putting that pressure. See, in a way, we are putting a pressure that the other person has to protect. See, one thing is like, I give a respect to a person who has been protecting, and one is the pressure that you have to protect me. When we make it a ritual, that in this relationship, this has to happen. It is a pressure that we are putting. The wife has to tie a Rakhi to the husband, or the sister has to tie a Rakhi to the brother. We are putting a pressure on that person that you have to protect me. In a way, we are basically tying you with that promise that you will basically promise me that you will protect me. Indeed, with that, interestingly, most and this does become over a period of time. It is a fact that most of the sisters, it is about even not just मैं तो राखी बांधूंगी, भाई मुझे क्या देगा बदले में, basically because भाई is supposed to be the provider and the protector. He is supposed to give me. So we are basically in a way enlarging this aspect about putting a pressure that you need to do that. So something which was just a mere respect for the person who was protecting you, we are forcing now the whole bit of generation to, in a form of a ritual, that you have to protect me. So moving from the idea of anybody, from the brother to the husband to the even sisters, it is a stupid idea. Why are we putting this pressure? Where then the equality again goes? Then the equality equation goes different. My sister is supposed to protect me. Why? Am I not allowed to be individual? Why am I not given a space to be where I can at least see what my capacities are? अगर मुझे कहा ही जाएगा कि इस छत्र छाया में, almost इस protection में रहो, I would not explore the world.
You're right.
So let the people move.
Okay, so there's a question by Mahika that, ma'am, I'm sorry if I was rude. No, Mahika, you were not rude. It was just a question by you. So, but my only point was, rituals don't promote inequality, as we have different rituals promoting different genders, even different animals. The way we started taking it and making it in our head for making us men feel good. We started practicing it with different mindsets. But for example, media is good, but it has a purpose. It can be the fourth pillar, but the fourth pillar but the way started exploiting it is making its existence bad. Okay, so
See,
according to
somewhere down
her,
the line, we can't blame the media for everything. We are the ones who's basic.
she's
I
saying that
Yeah.
it is we who are making so rituals. Point was rituals don't promote inequality, as we have different rituals promoting different genders. So there are rituals for both man, women, and for every gender we have a ritual. Okay, so promoting every gender and animals, but it is we who took this uh, took this in our head and made this feel good. We started practicing it with different mindsets, but that's what she was giving an example that media can be a fourth pillar, but we are making it that we we are making its existence bad.
See, basically, rituals aren't, when they were made, what were they made for? I don't know. That's what we are still discussing about, what were the rituals all about. Over the period of time, if we have given it a different meaning, we have given it a different meaning, right? So, this is the meaning which is being carried forward. That's what I'm saying. Everything had its own purpose when they was created. The whole mythology was created for a purpose. Everything had its own purpose. But as of today, it is impacting because it is having a meaning to it. There is meaning to everything. Even if in the marriages, the female is supposed to follow the man in the pheras. Uh, in the seventh phera, she is supposed to go ahead, basically say that I'll die before you. So somewhere down the line, the man leads. So somewhere, whatever is the meaning that is given, that is what is actually what it ultimately carries forward. अगर किसी टाइम पे soldiers को बांधी जाती थी राखी, it was with a good intention. But if the rituals became ultimately that the brother is tying the rakhi to this, I mean, it is the sister who is supposed to, oh shit, I don't tie it, so I don't remember. It is the sister who is supposed to tie the rakhi to the brother. It has completely given a different meaning. This is the non-verbal that we are giving to the next generation. नेक्स्ट जनरेशन को हम ये कह रहे हैं कि नॉन वर्बल ये है कि बेसिकली भाई को तुम्हारी रक्षा करनी है एंड यू आर द वीकर जेंडर, the brother is the stronger gender, and thus he has to, so even if he is 10 years younger than you, he is 15 years younger than you, he is supposed to protect you.
Right.
So rituals, that's what is being carried out in the rituals. So what was it started with? I cannot negotiate because it's not existing today. And we'll actually get into the discussion के हिंदू कल्चर बहुत अच्छा था, बेसिकली मुसलमानों ने आके खराब कर दिया या ब्रिटिशर्स ने आके खराब कर दिया. आई डोंट वांट टू गेट इनटू दैट. आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ व्हाट इज टुडे. Let's not get from where did it origin, because origin has its many stories. So would this have, rituals would have many stories. We have to really go back to understand which is the truth of it. It's difficult. So let's talk about what is today. And the religion and the rituals are basically not as of now encouraging equality because of whatever meaning it has carried over the period of time, and thus impacting. I am not at all questioning why were they made.
Yeah, right. So I don't think that we are discussing here that rituals are right or wrong. We are discussing that as an individual now, or as in youth, we need to see that we need to understand why this ritual is carried out till date, and we need to see it is it good or bad, and
what is the non-verbal message that we are giving.
Yeah, and my next question would be that as we are talking that we need to change these rituals, or we need to understand that who would make the new rituals, who would be there to say that this is good and we need to follow this ritual. I mean, I alone can't make a ritual now and make them follow. Are you getting my question?
See, basically, why can't we do it? Why can't you do it? We all, I remember till we were kids, Valentine's Day wasn't celebrated. Over the period of time, Valentine Day did come up, and now almost everybody knows about it and talks about it. The BJP and the RSS people say that it is not Indian culture, please don't follow it, and we still follow it.
Right.
So interesting. So why can't we make it? Why can't we stop it? It is not about even making a ritual. Equality would actually have. See, Friendship Day is which is some now. I think over the last few years, even the Friendship Day banned, which is a very Western culture which we started picking up, which is in a way a way of. It is a ritual that we have started, where we basically bond with our friends. So that is also a ritual that we have started. So it is going to we have not been able to stop certain rituals. Certain people have started choosing the idea of that they don't want proper marriage. They have started withdrawing for the marriage processes. There has been, like, my father was very clear that he doesn't like the idea of the fact that the son can basically give the Agni and not the daughter, and the concept that why would he means ek ke upar why one can do it one. He very easily chose the idea that interestingly, I'll not you haven't to do both haven't to do anything, I'm donating my body, and he did that. So it is a complete change of ritual. My father stopped my mother from having Karwa Chauth when I was in school. So why can't we stop rituals, and why cannot we change rituals? We can.
Okay.
The only thing is we are scared of it. Only thing is we are all anxious about it. We are anxious about how people will look at us.
Right.
My father means I'm talking about my father who is now in 70s. He in his marriage had come with 11 people. He had very categorically told my nana that hum log 11 jan aayenge, and it was taught 11 people. 11 जनों में शादी हुई है. So rituals can be changed at any stage by anybody. It is interestingly, it is our generation also scared of it.
Yeah.
Why?
We are scared of judgment, I think. We think, people will judge us.
Yeah, maybe. We all need to look into us that why are we scared of it?
Right.
Because otherwise we can.
So I think we have come to the end, because Instagram doesn't allows 1 hour of discussion. So okay, so this was the live session on rituals and equality, and thank you so much for joining me, and we'll again be live on next Sunday evening, so stay tuned, and we'll be back with a new topic of discussion. So yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. I got a lot of knowledge from you today. And
today, interestingly, the discussion was interesting. A lot of people asking questions. I love that. That makes me think.
Yeah, right. So thank you so much. So we'll be ending the video now.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.